asked students on Cornell campus to share with us the personal, academic, and professional ways that they address climate change issues. Let's hear from them.
I think sometimes when we think about climate change, it's so daunting. All we can think about is how big the problem is. But as an individual with tons of resources, you can actually influence the institutions or the communities that you're part of. So for instance, my sophomore year, Cornell was almost going to back away from its carbon neutrality goal of 2035. And so I got together with a bunch of students and we got it done, we passed resolutions through the student assembly and a bunch of other governing bodies, and we held rallies, panels, a ton of different events. And eventually we met with the administration and they agreed to stick to the goal.
Over winter break, we actually went to Vietnam and we met with a lot of local farmers to hear about how climate change has been impacting their lives with saltwater intrusion. They grow a lot of rice there. Rice is a very stable crop, and saltwater is sort of decimating their rice yields. And so we talked to a lot of farmers there, and then we came back in the spring and did a bunch of reflection papers, as well as traveled to Washington, D.C. to meet with some of our own representatives and sort of share these stories of the farmers to these representatives and sort of talk about what they could be doing better to address climate change and greenhouse gas emissions in the United States.
People just don't think about waste. They buy something, they toss it, that's it. They buy a new one, they toss it. People just don't realize that that stuff had to come from somewhere and that it goes somewhere. And especially with landfills, I think they're just the most ridiculous thing. There are areas of land where we just pile crap, essentially. And they're so easily preventable. We can recycle so many things. And now with companies like TerraCycle that recycle non-recyclable materials, or commercially non-recyclable materials, we don't need to be extracting new materials which harm the environment, and we don't need to be piling our materials in a landfill. We can be reusing them. So I think if students just kind of learn to realize that more, we would have a lot less waste, and it just seems easy to me, honestly. Reusable mugs and reusable bottles are cool. You can put stickers on them and then they become personalized and they're just nice, and stickers are fun. So, reusable things.
I frequent the grab-and-go eateries a lot on campus, and I realize that I've been throwing away a lot of plastic forks. And I know that it's not reasonable to think that we can do away with all disposable things, disposable utensils on campus, but I think that individual actions do make a big difference, and that just with forks, for example, you can reduce a lot of energy and emissions by having everyone carry their own. Carrying my own fork around has made me more conscious of the styrofoam containers that I use and the plastic bags and things like that. Climate change can be a very abstract and kind of intimidating thing for people to think about because it's so long-term, large-scale, and we don't physically see the greenhouse gases accumulating in the atmosphere in our everyday lives.
I'm a game design major, so I've been working in my spare time on developing a game focused on kind of deforestation issues and how, as society develops, removal of things like forests and bodies of water have an actual impact around the environment around us. A lot of civilization games just focus on the advancement and they don't show the impact caused by it. So I wanted to create kind of an interactive experience for people to see, yes, you can do this thing to advance your economy and your society, but what impact does it have on the environment around you, and how is that going to impact your society as well in the long run?
Now that we've heard a few ways how students of campus have chosen to address issues of climate change, we hope that you can also participate in these sort of activities, both on a personal level and on a collective level, to address important global issues of climate change.